All right, guys, what is up? Welcome to the Reborn podcast. My name is Ashley with my co-host, Lena Del Rey.
Hey.
Yeah, it is a beautiful Friday.
66 degrees.
Here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And we are really excited. We're going to have Tia on today.
This is like part 2 of the Fittest People in the Universe show. So we had Mat Fraser on earlier this week. And now Tia is the 4-time CrossFit champion. She did 4 years straight.
And then she also got second.
Yeah.
Two times in a row,
she was runner-up.
which was very similar to Matt.
Yeah. So they kind of have similar stories. But as you know, if you listened to last week's podcast, they train together, which is kind of cool. So now saw Matt's side. Now we get to see Tia's side. So that'll be
really exciting.
And
I was really pumped up and motivated after talking to Matt and kind of...
Yeah.
It's a lot, like what they go through. I mean, it's
insane, especially like all the different workouts that they do. I watched a few documentaries, and I've actually watched on ESPN like the CrossFit Games. It's insane what these people's bodies can do. It's absolutely mind blowing. I don't know if I would personally be able to do everything that they do 4 years in a row, let alone like 40 minutes in a row. But I'm gonna try.
Just the dedication and the commitment. And I think what's really interesting is there were a lot of like common, I think there's a lot there, of both of them.
Between their drives and like what.
But one of the big ones is that is kind of even relatable for me on a much smaller scale, I believe, is just the naysayers and the negativity when it comes to social media and how they can't allow that to dictate how their training is going to be that day.
Motivators.
Right. You got to use
haters gonna hate.
You got to use the haters as like motivation. And so yeah, I'm really excited to interview her. It was really cool getting to know Matt and his regimen and training style. And
I want to see like her side of it, because there's always two sides to every story. And Matt talked a little bit how they got like that brother sister thing. So excited to see what Tia has to say.
And Tia is from
Australia.
Yeah, which will be cool.
Well, sweet. I'm excited to meet this lady.
Yeah, let's bring Tia on and welcome her to the podcast. And I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you, Tia, so much for joining us today on the Reborn podcast. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to meet you and to kind of like dig deep and to learn a little bit more about you. And so our listeners can learn about you and your journey and how you have become the, 4 times fittest woman on earth now?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We have to keep count for that one. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's just start out with some basics. Where are you from originally?
So I'm actually from, it's not really small anymore, but it's like a beachy town in Queensland called the Sunshine Coast. And back in Australia, I should probably specify that if people don't understand my accent, but so I'm originally from Australia, and now I currently live in Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee. Okay, what part of Tennessee?
Cookeville, Tennessee.
Oh, Cookeville. Okay, cool. Nice.
It's just out of Nashville, so yeah.
And
Nashville's a cool area.
And how old are you?
I'm how old am I? 27. Sorry, I had to think about that.
Yes, I know how that is. So can you just start out like with a little bit about what your background and fitness is, what you grew up doing, and what was it that led you into CrossFit?
Yeah, well, so I used to do a whole bunch of sports when I was growing up. For me, I was very sporty, very competitive, and when I started getting right into, trying to qualify for different levels, I actually pursued running, and that was either cross country or athletics. One part of the year for the first 6 months was cross country, and then the second half of the year was athletics. And, I would go out and represent my state at nationals. At that time, that was as far as you could go. So, I guess I've always tried to progress further and get as far as you can and just see how good you can really be. And then, as you get older, you try and find a career and pursue that. But, deep down, I knew that wasn't really something that I wanted to do, deep down in my heart. And so from there, I actually just, stumbled across CrossFit through my boyfriend, Shane, who is now my husband and my coach. And so, he actually was playing rugby, and in the off season, him and his team, they stumbled across this CrossFit gym and focused on their fitness, and he thought that was something that I would really like. And at the time, I was trying to find something. I wasn't doing running at the time, but I was wanting to get back into it. I had a bit of a break when I was trying to go to university, and basically, my very first day at a CrossFit class, I didn't like it. And so I never went back for like 2 months until I awkwardly had to commit when the owner of the gym just kept persuading me to come back and try it out again. And so it's not necessarily for everyone, but once I was a little bit more open-minded. I gave it a second chance. I was hooked by the end of the month. And, one thing led to another, and now I've been to the Olympics. I've won the Commonwealth Games in weightlifting, and I've also won. Essentially, I'm the fittest woman in history. So
That's awesome. Congratulations. I'm just curious because I know your husband now, he's your coach. So how is that working with him? Like, the dynamic between or differentiating between, okay, today you're going to be my husband versus today you're coach?
Yeah, there definitely has those days. And this is a question that comes up very regularly.
Yeah,
I think
I can imagine.
It's it's something that a lot of people are very intrigued in. But for us, it happens so organically. When it comes to training, I know that he is pushing me because that's what I need to do and it's going to benefit me. I know that whenever it comes to workouts that aren't necessarily workouts that are satisfying, they're really, really hard. I know that it's not a personal attack. It's things that are going to push me towards my goal. And because I understand that and I respect that, it allows me to embrace what I'm doing. And don't get me wrong, there's always days where I'm just like, hey, we're not doing this, or, I definitely push back every so often. I'm a female, of course I do. And then when it comes to competing, he is definitely the boss. So whatever goes, that is what I need to do. As time has progressed, though, I don't necessarily really need him or rely on him per se, just because he's prepared me so well, and we've been doing this for so long now that I just know what I need to do. But we very rarely argue when it comes to competing, which I think is quite fascinating. And, I am somewhat stubborn, so is he, but I'm allowed to put a lot of those emotions aside because we have a job to do when it comes to competing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned before going to school and you were trying to find your way again during school and like kind of that gap before CrossFit. If you weren't who you are today, the fittest woman on earth, what would you be doing?
That's a good question. Honestly, I would actually be working for a mine back home in Australia, and I would be probably a lab technician or they call them like a specialist, and I would be, analyzing samples and everything, doing shift work, day shift, night shift, working a very, just working a job that allows me to work half a year, which is great, has great pay, has really good benefits, but doesn't really have a fulfilling vibe to it, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So with the pressures of being a female and social media, was there a time, because I can imagine that all of this kind of, it was very organic in the beginning where, you wanted to find something that pushed you because you were always competitive. You were a competitive runner and like with the track, and then you found something that basically lit your soul on fire again.
Yeah.
At what point was it when you started deciding that you are going to go after this, that you are going to compete in the games? And with social media, did that play a role in the pressure that you feel?
So I think when I very first started, for me, I didn't really know what Instagram was about. And I specifically say Instagram because, we have Facebook at somewhat of an early age, all of our friends have it and everything. And it's more of like a way to connect with friends that maybe live in a different location to you. So I didn't understand why or how people utilize social media in order to grow their platforms and everything. That was very new to me. And as I progressed and as I realized I wanted to build a brand and become a professional athlete, which, it took me a few years after being, the fittest woman on earth, improving myself, not just to myself, but to a lot of people in the space. I still didn't necessarily consider myself as a professional athlete until I went to the Olympics. And so, over those years, I had to become familiar and try and understand social media. And social media is ruthless. It can really bring an individual down. It's not something that, we try and be positive. We try and, encourage people to go out after their dreams and everything. But there are definitely people out there that try and bring you down along the way. And when I first started to realize like I wanted to go out and do this, it was due to haters. It was because people said that I couldn't go out and do it. They said that I didn't have what it took, and they said that I wasn't confident enough. And
here, I just want to stop you for a second. With these people, whenever you're saying like haters, were these people that you personally knew, or were they just social media keyboard ninjas?
At this time, it was people that I knew. Now, it's people, if I have haters that, comment or anything, it's through social media. So I suppose you could say that the haters that initiated my fire and my motivation to prove them wrong were people that I personally knew, that I somewhat considered friends, and then realized that they obviously weren't friends. And so throughout that whole transition, throughout those learning curves, it was, I was able to harness those emotions in the right way that were going to benefit me. And I definitely don't thank them, but I definitely am so grateful that I got to see those people in that light, because it did help me stay focused and, essentially set a dream that now I've made a reality. And with that in mind, with looking back on that journey, it doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter the actions of other people. It matters how you harness and embrace them and utilize them in a way of good. But I think it is important to announce and, share just how brutal it can really be when you put yourself out there for other people to judge, because, it happens to everyone, whether you know them or not. There's always going to be keyboard warriors and everything. But if you're not hated, if you aren't getting those negative comments, you're obviously not doing something. You're obviously not doing anything, And so by me putting myself out there and having comments that aren't necessarily true, or, people having attacks at me, bring it on. It's only fueling the fire deep down inside me. And obviously they have not a lot going on in their lives for them to be commenting and stuff. So, I think I'm just fortunate enough to be surrounded by such good people that I'm so satisfied within myself that I really am able to just truly embrace and turn those negative comments and those keyboard warriors into motivation of, oh, okay, I'll just keep doing me and you just keep doing
give
you.
The middle finger.
Yeah, essentially.
So looking back on your career, is there a story that you can share of like whenever you think back and like in retrospect, is there a story that you can share of just like your ultimate highlight and how that was and what it felt like? Was it, being in like last place and then you pulled up to first, or can you just kind of give us a scenario of just
a
something
highlight of your career?
Highlight. Yeah, just give me a highlight.
Oh wow. I think that there's been so many different highlights throughout my career for so many different reasons. Like this year, for example, just because it was the most recent, crossing the finish line with my training partner. I'm not too sure if you guys are familiar with it, but Matt and I had such a significant lead at the CrossFit Games that we didn't have to really push in the last workout. And so, we got to hold hands crossing the line and,
nice.
Somewhat, just show the world just like, hey, this is what we did. We committed ourselves throughout the whole season. Even with COVID around, there was just so many things that went against us throughout the season that we still came through on top. And it just meant so much to not just myself and Matt, but to Shane and our team. Shane is our coach, my husband. And so, that was a very special moment. We are individual athletes, but we're a team at the end of the day as well. And I think that was what's so special. It can be a very lonely road at times. And when you do have people around you that support you and encourage you, that is what is so important. And I think that, if there was any advice that I would give to people, it's just, surround yourself with good people that bring you up, people that are real with you, not going to tell you what you want to hear. They're people that will be honest with you, but also not bring you down in a negative way. And, when you have that support network, it really does help you believe in yourself, and it really does help you chase after whatever it is you want to go after. And that was something that I've been it didn't happen from day one. It was something that I had to learn along the way, and people have come in and out of my life. But I wouldn't want it any other way.
With COVID happening this year, and by the way, I just want to say I love that you always have this, with everything we've been talking about, you have this positive attitude, this positive outlook, and it's not like bullshit. It's like, okay, I went through something and I like learned from it and I took it with me along this journey. But with COVID happening this year, we kind of talked a little about like Matt and like how that changed his workout routines and like a little bit of his struggles that he went through this year training for the games 2020. Did you have anything like similar? Like what were the hardships of training in this new world that we're living in?
Yeah. Matt and I we're together every single day going through everything. I think that what's unique is even though we were together, we probably felt it differently to an extent. For me, it was having things that were out of my control, I suppose. So, when I look back on the COVID period, initially I didn't think it was going to affect me, only because I had a lot of control within my I had a gym that I could go to every single day. And even though the gyms were shut down, I don't know if this was just like silly of me, but I just assumed that I personally could go in and train. However, that privilege got taken away because of COVID. which was a huge shock.
Yeah.
And, you know, we literally got a bunch of equipment together from Matt's garage gym, because we were trying to make it work where we were just training in Matt's gym. But, you know, in such a small space, it just gets too small. And so especially for the variety of movements we have to do on a daily basis, we needed to make a change. And so we actually went and lived in a different state for a few weeks throughout it, which were super isolated. We went and took, you know, a whole bunch of equipment and relocated ourselves for the season to just be able to train and remove ourselves away from just the unnecessary
distractions,
complications, if you will. And so that was interesting. That was really challenging. I guess because I just assumed that, you know, I wouldn't be affected, even though I also had, you know, a broken heart for everyone that were really affected throughout that time. I felt like I had put in place things that were going to allow me to continue on with my daily lifestyle. And, you know, I suppose compared to your average person that goes to a job, you know, 9 to 5, has to travel to work, everything like that, my life is somewhat isolated. You know, I train, eat, sleep, repeat, and that is literally my life. So there isn't a lot of things that need to really be changed, if you will. Like, it's really hard to explain, but when people were starting to get into lockdown, I was like, whoa, like this is my life normally. Like there's really not a whole lot's changing, except for a gym. You know, my sport requires me to have a facility that I can do so much. And so when that's taken away, you definitely get affected. But it's also my responsibility in order to make sure that I just do things that I can control and I can focus on. And that was something that I needed to really hone into and really understand. And it took me a couple of weeks, but, you know, because everything was just so up in the air, everything was uncertain, you know, we didn't even know if we were going to have competitions and everything. That was also very hard to train for. So once we really just started to think, hey, look, as long as we are just staying fit, strong, and healthy throughout this time, if there is a competition that comes up, we will be ready and we will not be, you know, stressing out because we're unfit and you know, we haven't put in the work throughout this off time. So, you know, it was really, really challenging and really hard at the time, but it all paid off in the end. Right. And, you know, I'm just so grateful that we just stuck to it and focused on what we could control.
So Matt had mentioned, because we interviewed him on Monday, he had mentioned that he's had other training partners in the past, some males, and I don't know if he's trained with other females. He said that there was something different about you. He said that he has never met anyone like Tia who has that drive and the competitiveness. So this is a 2-part question. I don't think we know how you and Matt met, how that was. And then also, like, I really just want to spend like the last bit of our time talking about that drive that you have and where it comes from and what is it that just keeps you going. I mean, I feel like for a lot of people in today's world, they will get a championship and they would feel like, oh yeah, they did it. But for you and Matt as well, not only did you win like one, but you have won multiple in a row. So yeah, just kind of understanding like the dynamic between you and Matt, how you guys met and how you knew that this is a training partner that I can train with and not going to be distracting. He's going to be serious. What was it within you that keeps your high competitiveness? And then how does it keep you going?
Yeah. Well, so Matt and I really didn't know each other aside from what we've seen on social media or documentaries until really like 24 months ago. So initially what happened was in 2018, Shane and I made the decision to move to the States from Australia. And this was simply to be closer with sponsors, build my brand. You know, there's so many more opportunities here in the States that it's so important that I capitalize on this because, you know, in 5 years' time, who knows where I will be, what I'll be doing. You know, will I still be competing? Most likely the older you get and the more you've been in the space, you know, the more, you know, the harder it is to really stay motivated. And it's just one of those things that like you have a small window to capitalize on you being at your prime. And that's what I'm trying to take advantage of. And, you know, the inevitable is that you get old and, you know, you move on and your interests change and everything. You know, Shane and I, we've been together now for 12 years. And one day we'll want to have a family of our own. And so, you know, we really thought that, hey, if we want to make this work, we need to go over and we need to go to the States. So October 5th, 2018, we moved to Cookeville, Tennessee from Australia, and we were training here, getting on with our life. We had no intention of training with anyone in particular. We wanted to be at a good facility. We wanted to make sure that we were accessible, essentially. And a couple of months went on, and I got this phone call from Mat Fraser, and the only interaction I really had with him in the past was just a, hey, how's it going? You know, passing at competitions. And he asked me, hey, like, are you training? And I was like, yep, I'm training. You know, I just thought it was very strange that he was asking me, like, you know, what am I doing? And I was like, yep, like full on training, man. Like, and he's like, so like, if I come down, will you train with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, no worries. You know, like Shane programs for me. Like you can do your training alongside me, whatever. We'll just go to the gym and be there at the same time. You know, it is important to be surrounded by like-minded people. It just allows you to understand that, hey, you're not the only one in it, especially on those really hard days that you're pushing. And so he literally got in his vehicle with his fiance, and they traveled down. I think it was like 18 to 19 hours, and got here like the next day. And we literally started training together, and I haven't stopped since. And like Shane, my husband, he was like writing my program up on the whiteboard just as we do every single day. And Matt's like, hey, I like this. You know, do you mind if I jump in? We're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Do whatever you want. And, we, you know, at the time we just thought that he would jump in with some things. I'd do some of his stuff. Like, you know, it would really just happen. Like we just take it day by day. But before we knew it, he literally just started doing everything that I was doing. And Shane would, you know, ask if Matt wanted to do anything in particular. And, you know, we would involve anything like that. And it just happened so organically that Shane became Matt's coach and was guiding and helping him. And, you know, I think that a lot of people are amazed by that because Matt doesn't necessarily classify anyone that has coached him except for his weightlifting coach. And so, you know, for that it just shows a lot. Obviously I'm very biased. He's my husband, but it just goes to show a lot of just how incredible Shane is to have trust by Mat Fraser, because that just doesn't come very lightly. And, you know, it happened where Matt feels safe and can trust Shane that he has his right intentions, because, you know, as you get more relevant, there's a lot more snakes in the grass.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So talk about like your drive a little bit. What is it that, and maybe just even, you know, as we wrap up the podcast, like where can people, is the drive that you have of like wanting to be on the top, is that something that you think that you have always had embedded into you? Or is that something as you continue on in your career, you it's a learned skill. It's like a learned, almost like an aggression, like a good positive aggression of just wanting to be the hardest working person in the room. Where does that come
Yeah.
from, and how do you keep it?
So, sorry to like go back to like your original question. I would consider Matt and I very, very similar in regards to this, but we are also very different, which is where this whole brother-sister relationship is. You know, we will have arguments for days, but then like, you know, we are bonded by blood in a way. You know, it's one of those unique situations and relationships that we have, but what is so similar and also like what drives me personally is I've not always had the desire to win. You know, for me, being competitive, being a part of my sporting commitments, just physically being there was so satisfying. That was what my passion was. It was competing. It was somewhat being center of attention, and you know, going out there and pushing myself on a daily basis just to see how good I could really be. And that evolved as the years progressed. And, you know, my first year of going to the CrossFit Games, like 6 months prior to that, I didn't even care or know much about the CrossFit Games. It just came to me. And once I got that opportunity, it was like, all right, you know, like, I want to do this. We're going to do this. So it wasn't until 2016 at the end, and I came second again, that desire, there was just something about that competition where I knew I didn't put my best foot forward. And my desire is always to give it my absolute best. And I walked away from that competition knowing I didn't. And not because I gave up. I thought I did my absolute best, but there was that feeling of just unsatisfaction. And so when that happens, you realize like, oh, there's more to what I want from this. And that's where the desire to win was. And ever since, I've ensured that I did everything in training to ensure that I was going to end up on top. Now, I would really like to reiterate, like I don't do this to win. Winning is just it's just the result of my hard work. My desire to just absolutely go out there and annihilate is what drives me and is what, you know, really makes me love what I do. If I went out there and gave it my absolute all and still came in third, fourth, whatever, that's fine. Like, I would be so happy with that. It really doesn't come down to the result. Obviously everyone wants to win, and you know, like winning is just it makes you so happy, but it's the effort that you really put in that really makes you satisfied. And so, you know, after winning 1 and then 2 and now my 4th, as happy as I feel, I just know that I can keep getting better, which is what keeps motivating me in order to just keep pushing through and, you know, just trying to chase after that many titles.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give someone, or the younger version of you, who is wanting to possibly get into the sport? And it can be intimidating. What advice would you give somebody starting out?
You know, there's a lot that I could probably say. But one is definitely surround yourself with the good people, just because there's going to be naysayers and, you know, people that will try and bring you down. And if you are surrounded by good people, they will help you through that. But then, you know, enjoying the process. And that may sound corny, but really embracing and having fun, laughing through training, that's what it's all about. It's about feeling that passion and having that enjoyment and fulfillment throughout the whole process, because when it comes to those really tough days, that enjoyment is what's going to get you through it. And when you're surrounded by the good people, when you're enjoying the process, there's no challenge that's going to step in your way and be too big.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's getting me ready to go to the gym. I'm ready now to start my class.
That's awesome.
Yeah, seriously, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an honor. It really was getting to speak to you.
Yeah,
So really
no.
thank you for your time.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate chatting with you guys. I know we've been trying to organize this for a few weeks now, so I'm glad that we're finally able to get connected.
And where can people find you and follow you, Tia, if they are not?
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tia-Clair 1. I also have a book and a YouTube channel.
You have a book. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So my book, I've written basically, my whole upbringing, and it's titled How I Became the Fittest on Earth. So it's my story so far from 2017, and I do plan on writing what I've done since then. But that journey hasn't finished yet. So
part 2 coming soon.
Yeah.
Have you? Is the book published? Is it available for people? Yeah. Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah. So.
And where can they buy that at?
So you can get it on my website. It's also through iTunes or Amazon. My website is Tia-Clair.com. So super simple. You can also see it or find it on my Instagram page bio. And what else? I mean, you can always have a laugh on my husband and my YouTube channel as well.
Well, thank you so much again for giving us some of your time today. We really appreciate it.
Of course. No, thank you for having me, ladies.
What an awesome interview with Tia.
I know.
She's really
so
sweet.
Positive.
Yeah.
I love that. She took everything, the haters and, getting runner up twice, and she really just took that, ran with it, and didn't look back.
Yeah, she let it fuel her.
She's inspiring.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
Are you gonna start working on your
I
snatch and jerks?
I started telling my friends, I was like, my jerkin pulls. I told my friends, I was like, I think I'm gonna start doing CrossFit, and one of my friends actually was like, I've been thinking about it too.
Nice.
So we actually are going next week, and we're gonna.
You are?
Yeah, I am.
You're gonna go to a CrossFit gym?
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna go.
Do you know which one you're gonna go to out here?
No, she's the one that she's
gonna
like,
set it up?
I have a guy. I was
That's
like, sketchy.
awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be at One Life. If you see me doing some snatches or some
there you go
jerk and pulls.
And remember what Tia said whenever she went to her first CrossFit class. She actually didn't go back for 2 months because she hated it.
That might be me. It might not be.
And then we might be seeing you in the games in 2021.
I don't know about all that. I don't know about that. Maybe.
Know.
We can
never
only
say
hope. Never say never. So it's the best time of the show. We're getting to hear from the viewers. So I got a few questions lined up. So this kind of goes back to training and just jumping in, dip your toe in the water. For someone who is starting to train, starting to, get in that athletic lifestyle, they want to know which one of your programs is a good fit. Just for that entry-level athlete that's just want to get back in shape, want to do something, want to move.
Yeah. That's a kind of a tough question to answer, especially for right now, because I'm one of the big answers to that question is what type of equipment do you have readily available to you, with everything kind of being just, dispersed, and you can't have full access to your training facility that you used to have. Maybe you don't have a lot of gym equipment at home.
So let's for, I guess, just because we don't know anything about this viewer. So your Joe Schmo has 10-pound dumbbells at their house, or just little weights, nothing crazy.
Yeah,
they have their body, and that's it.
Yeah, there was a program that I created about 2 years ago called Dumbbell Crew, and it's a full body training program. And all you need is one set, or it's even better if you have 2 sets of dumbbells, a lighter weight set and then a little bit heavier weight set, and then a box or a bench, or you can even use a chair. But that's a great training program, and it's good, honestly, for all levels of fitness, whether you're a beginner or you're an intermediate or you're just needing something to switch it up. That's a really good training program. If you're looking for a program that is moderate to advanced, and has a lot of functional movements in it, similar to CrossFit, you would want to look at Pipe Hitter, which to
Isn't
this
that
day,
one of your most popular?
it is one of my most popular ones. So there's Pipe Hitter 1 and then Pipe Hitter 2. And then there's another one that goes on from Pipe Hitter. It's called Pinnacle, which is also really hard.
Like the vodka.
There's a vodka called
Pinnacle vodka.
Oh, I don't know.
It's disgusting.
Is it? Oh gosh,
There's
well,
I like PT.
no relation to the disgusting Pinnacle vodka and Pinnacle training.
I just have like really bad like
Memories, huh?
memories of college of having whipped cream Pinnacle.
Wow.
Or it's whipped cream vodka. And
My girlfriend and I used to sneak out of my house.
Okay,
like
rebel.
by this, we called it the Red Shed, and we would drink shots of. Do you know a 99 bananas?
Yes. Ew.
Or like peppermint schnapps.
Okay, I can't do like
I cannot. If I even smelled any of those,
any
like,
peppermint liquor, I automatically will projectile vomit. It doesn't matter where I am.
Yeah.
My sobriety level, I will, because it scarred me for life.
Yeah.
So I try to stay away from peppermint
Yep.
anything.
Yep.
It's gross. 99 bananas.
99 bananas.
Jesus.
Yeah, I haven't had that since I was. I mean, I was, first of all, way under the age that I should have been drinking, but, you know.
You got to learn.
Country girl out there wanted to try a little bit of a
99 bananas.
That freaking burn, man.
It's like nail polish with a scent of banana.
I didn't know any different. I remember we'd have to have like
you
crazy
have to have
chasers.
the shitty liquor to advance and to appreciate the good liquor.
Now we can appreciate different types of liquor.
We on this show we definitely do. We appreciate our liquor. Okay, I got another question. There's another fitness one. So this listener is struggling with a certain area of their body. They said they've been constantly working out, but they're still struggling with that lower belly area.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your advice to like really tighten and, you know, build that muscle and lose that fat in that area?
I'm assuming this is a female.
I would
Okay.
assume so as well.
Yeah. So the first thing is that unfortunately we can't spot reduce. It has to be a full collective effort. For females, especially, that can be the lower. If she's talking about the lower belly area, that can be the most difficult place to lose weight for a couple reasons.
Your whole reproductive system is there, first of all.
And what's crazy is like your body actually tries to protect those areas and it'll hold on to the fat till the very, it just your body wants to hold on to that fat that protects like your reproductive area. It can be frustrating. I would say whenever, and I've had 3 C-sections, I've always had a really big belly during my pregnancy. I noticed a huge difference whenever I started doing weighted core exercises. I think that's really important. And it took after I had my first 2, Trip and Cash, it wasn't until after I had my 3rd, I started doing weighted core exercises, and I could
What do you
tell
mean by
a
weighted
huge
core?
So using weights, don't just do body weight core exercises, because our abdominal wall is actually extremely thin. It's almost like if you think of like a piece of paper. So you can even train your core every single day. Like I know it's best to train your upper body one day and then take a break, and then you can train your lower body. But when it comes to your core, you can actually train that every single day. And you have to think of your core. It is very thin. So you can increase the muscle size and the density of your core by doing weighted exercises. And if somebody were to just try that, give it for about 4 weeks of just the consistency. You don't have to lift your core every single day, but just the consistency of when you're doing your core, that you use the weight and you become proactive whenever it comes to your core training. Other than that, the only thing from my experience that has really helped me is I cut out all my dairy. The moment I cut out all my dairy.
Yes. No one talks about that. And that's so important. So I have something that runs in my family, and it's all women. Like men do not. It's called polycystic ovarian syndrome, and so it's basically like a disorder of my reproductive system. Blah blah blah, and there's food that has like, I forget the technical term, but it's like genetically modified food. So like you're talking about your dairies and like your gluten and everything. It inflames my reproductive system, so I bloat super bad, and like I struggle losing weight. But dairy is like, no one talks about how bad dairy can be for you sometimes. And I love cheese.
And I still have dairy sometimes.
I do too.
But I know that if I cut out dairy, that I automatically will lose the bloat.
Yeah.
Like if you cut out all your dairy for at least like a week or 2 weeks,
or just cut back on it.
Yeah, just cut back on it.
You don't need cheese on everything.
There was also a time that I was pretty hardcore paleo. I didn't do any dairy at all.
Paleo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done paleo, keto. I've experimented with pretty much all types of eating and nutrition, except for I've never been like a vegan or a vegetarian, which I've wanted to actually. I'm like interested in that just to like kind of go down that journey for a while, but I don't feel like I'm equipped with enough recipes and knowing how to like cook for myself and my family.
I feel like one of the things with doing the vegan and the vegetarian, it's like, okay, there's a lot of things that play and role to your body. You need to listen to your body and do it properly. Don't just like, you're like, it's vegan and it's like, 10,000 calories to it.
Yeah,
because I have a friend
just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're healthy either.
Yeah, you need to make sure you're getting the right nutrients that you need because again, food is fuel for your body. So treat your body like a machine. Give it the good stuff. Once in a while you want to put that cheapo gas in it. It's like not going to destroy the engine.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I had a hard time after I was extremely strict paleo, and then I started adding dairy back into my diet. It was almost like I made myself lactose intolerant.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it took a while. I had to basically do some sort of like reverse dieting to where I could go out and have ice cream if I wanted to have ice cream and not worry about getting sick. And I'm fine now. Like I'll have, a whole milk latte or something if I wanted, or heavy cream if I wanted. But I am mindful of it. And I love the cheeses as well.
I think we're lucky that there's so many alternatives now. I have almond milk, Greek yogurt, because that was one of my favorites. And I never wanted to give it up. Almond milk Greek yogurt is really good, and I don't feel as shitty after.
Nice.
And like I will not lie, I do not like vegan cheese. I do not like dairy-free cheese.
Because it can be like really sodium.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I'm Italian too, and I'm just like, don't fuck
you
with
want
the
real
fakery.
stuff.
I want the real shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna have fake mozzarella. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's against my like culture.
Right.
I feel like to do that.
That makes
But
sense.
yeah, diets and exercise. I feel like diet plays. Do you think diet plays a big role in like losing that lower body?
That diet, yeah. I think diet's a huge thing. But what I see is that and women are the worst, that we make ourselves so.
We're hard on ourselves.
Yeah, we become really hard on ourselves, and it's just not enjoyable. Like it has to be fun. You have to have a diet and even like an exercise routine that fits your lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. There is a part of dedication and discipline that comes with achieving a more fit lifestyle and a healthier fed lifestyle when it comes to nutrition. But it shouldn't be, it shouldn't feel like that you're like a prisoner.
No, you need to love your body. You need to love your body. Like, there's always going to be bloat. There's always going to be a little some there. I have a little some. I think it's cute now. I'm like, hey, girl.
Yeah.
Like, wake up in the morning. How, like, that morning stomach, everyone's like, oh, you just, like, you went to the bathroom. You're just feeling, like, extra skinny legend that morning. I'm like, I have that bloat sometimes. And, like, that's just because that's the way my body is.
Yeah.
And I know I'm working out.
Right.
And I know I'm doing everything right. So I'm like, you know what? If she's going to chill there, she's going to chill there. I'm going to love it. I'm going to love my little belly.
Love the body no matter what.
Love it.
All right, moving right into our homework segment. Your homework this week is to try something new, because just like Tia, she started Olympic lifting, and then 18 months later, wasn't she in the Olympics?
18 months later, she
was in the Olympics. I mean, that is just...
Holy shit.
That is crazy. You never know. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love so many different types of training styles, and the reason why I have so many different types of training programs out there, because there is so much out there that you can go explore, and you never know. There might be something that's sitting right around the corner from you that is going to be your next best thing and something that you just absolutely love, something that you just connect with and that you soar with, and that it'll ultimately make a huge change in your lifestyle. So, and just like Lena, she's been trying all of these new things, and you're going to go try CrossFit
I'm gonna
for the
try
first time.
CrossFit next week for the first time.
Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just because,
nervous.
it's
new, and you
it's
don't
the
know what
new
to expect.
Yeah, exactly. Like back to like our previous episodes, when I was just a wee thing on the Reborn pod, I was scared. I was
Yeah.
scared of going to the gym.
And that's
It's
nervous.
still a similar feeling, but
Yeah.
I feel more confident now, especially having a friend with me to go.
Yeah, and all that is normal. So that's your homework for this week. Go out there, try something new,
Go
do some
water
research,
skiing.
see what's out there. Yeah. Go
Rollerblade.
snowboarding, go,
Rollerblade or
yeah,
do some curling.
curling, pull-ups.
Yeah.
All of it.
All that jazz and more.
Yeah, go cross country skiing, There's
Ooh.
like endless options out there for you. So
Endless.
my name's Ashley Horner. This is my co-host Lena Del Rey. Thank you guys so much for joining us on today's Reborn podcast. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, give us some feedback if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer on the podcast. Make sure that you get those to us by DM on the Instagram at Reborn Pod, or you can email us rebornpod@ashleyhorner.co, and we will catch you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.